Hi, Janelle Schaefer here. Hi, Janelle Schaefer here with Sheep Hill Herbs. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to another video. I'm so happy that you're here today. And today's video is going to be a little bit different because I'm doing an interview with another herbalist. Her name is Tina Sams. And she is an herbalist, a writer, an editor, and I'm really excited to talk with her today. And I hope you really enjoy this video. So Tina has been a partner in multiple herb shops in the past, and she helps with her sister's soap company. She's written several books, including her most recent, which is called Medicinal Herbs for Emotional Healing. And I will have that listed in the description down below. And she publishes the Essential Herbal magazine right here in Manheim, Pennsylvania, which is really exciting. I have one copy here, a past copy that I helped contribute to the cover, as well as wrote an article for. Her magazine is really well received and well loved by many herbal plant people. Her hobbies include distillation, eco-dyeing, wild food foraging. She is an enthusiastic home herbalist and forager for the past 30 years, and her mission is to bring the useful plants into more homes, which I think is a great mission. It kind of is in alignment with my own mission. I think of herbs as the people's medicine. So Tina, thank you for being here today, and I really would love to hear your wisdom about plants and herbs. So let's start by talking about the Essential Herbal magazine, which is a really beautiful magazine. When did you start this magazine?
Well, my sister and I had a shop in like 2000, and then I kind of wandered off in a middle-age crisis then. And so I was working at a printing place, and I just needed to get back into herbs. I just needed to be part of herbs again. And so I started to do a newsletter, and at the printing I was pretty broke. And so there I could learn all the equipment, and I could talk to my herb friends, and I could gather stuff. It was sort of like a gathering of herb almost. And I did all the printing and binding and the mail, and it was before the internet was really, it was different. It was difficult, and it was worth it, and it was wild. So that was it. It was like I started in 2001, and the first issue came out in January of 2002.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, that is a really neat start. You had all that printing experience.
Yes. I mean, I had worked at, Donnelly is a big company around here. Donnelly is a big printing company, and I had worked there for a long time. And then, gotten into herbs and stuff. And so I was working at a little one, where you go to the cards printed and stuff. And I learned all the equipment there. So that was kind of cool, but I don't need to do that anymore.
Yeah.
It's good to know that stuff, though, for if you have a magazine.
So who were the writers in the early years? Were you writing? Did you have people helping at the time?
Yes. Yeah, that was always I knew I couldn't do it all myself because, there are some herbalists who do. I think, I don't know if you've ever seen Christine Brown's Herbal Root Zines, which she usually does for kids.
Yes.
And it's beautiful. So she does all the art and all the writing in it, and I can't do that. So, there were always contributors and different points of view, which is one of the points, is to have everybody thinks differently about is a healthy lifestyle or what you want to do with herbs. Some people want to make a wreath, some people want to cook with them, some people want to make medicine, and there's some people want all of it. That's me. But so I didn't want to exclude anybody. I wanted everybody to feel like what they were doing was just fine. So I needed everybody to write.
Oh, great. So, well, this is a long run. This is almost 20 years that you've been printing this magazine.
Yeah.
And is it now, do you still have it in print form, or do you only offer it online digital right now?
Just digital. We were
Okay.
we were thinking about changing it to digital because it's just gotten so expensive. And then when the coronavirus came along, I was like, okay, I think that's it. I think we're done. And it's worked out okay. I was afraid that everybody would just say, see ya, but that did
Yeah.
not happen. We didn't really change that much. So that was
Oh,
good.
that's great. That's really great.
Mhm.
So how can people subscribe to your magazine? Can you share that?
Yep. And just go to essentialherbal.com and sign up right there. And then you automatically get the first issue. And from then on, well, we added something that I think has really helped for us to stay where we were, is that we have have you gotten the extra? Did you get the extra?
No, I haven't.
Okay. It's in between because we're 6 months. We do every other month. So we started doing this extra thing, which Susanna Rippert suggested from the Rosemary House. And it's just something, whatever we come up with for the in-between month. And so far, we've done some really interesting things. Sometimes it's a video, sometimes and I have some pretty interesting ideas for that, like weed walks and stuff like that. Will be fun.
Oh, that sounds really great.
That's helpful. So, yeah, every month you get something. We don't know what it's going to be, but
okay,
you get something.
well, great. Well, I'll put those details in the video.
Okay.
But let's talk a little bit. I'm really interested in your wild foraging. So you mentioned that, I think, twice. And can you tell us about maybe like your top 5 favorite wild plants that you would be foraging for?
Well, this is a really good time. This is an excellent time to be out there. And nettle has taken over the side of my house, but nettle is so good. It has so many benefits for it's like, if you need something, try nettle. That would be my first thing to go for. And I like to make it into soup and throw it in eggs. And I made pasta with it last year. It's just, I don't really particularly like it in a lot of people use it for nourishing infusions, and it's not a favorite for me, but I'd like to eat it. I like to just steam it. So anyway, that's one. Let's see. All right.
Okay, Tina, so I haven't actually had much experience collecting nettles myself. I use nettle. I have dried nettle. I love it, but it doesn't grow where I live, so I have not collected it. I have touched it by accident, well, sort of by accident, but how do you collect your nettle?
Yeah, that was part of my childhood was, because it used to grow near the creeks where I played. And yeah, it gives you quite a sting, but it took me 3 or 4 times to try and grow it. So if that's something that you want to do, grow it near your house, I can give you some seed.
I would love that. I would love that.
Okay, I'll send you some. So when there are some people who are determined they like to gather it without gloves, because you can fold the leaves down. The underside of the leaf is covered with little needles, right?
Okay.
And they have the histamine in them. So if you fold the leaf down, then you won't. But I don't do that because that takes forever. So I take gloves, and I use the gloves that have the rubber on the inside. Okay. And I'll still get stung on the back of my hands, but
Oh wow.
And scissors. And I take a big wide basket and I shove it under there and I snip, and it catches them. And then usually if I'm going to have them for a meal, then I just rinse them off and put it in a pan, and there we go. You know, I like them steamed. Steamed with butter is the best. But
Okay.
yeah. So, and if you're going to dry them, the way I dry everything is I have a whole room upstairs that doesn't get any heat or air conditioning, and I just put sheets on the floor, and in a couple days everything is usually pretty well dried. Nettle's still going to sting you though. Even dried, if you know, it can sting. So I use gloves because it takes a long time for that sting to go away, I think. So
yeah, I was
some
stung
people
once.
intentionally do that. You know, they'll intentionally sting their joints for arthritis and stuff. I don't do that. So
yeah.
So then the next one that I really like is elderberry. And everywhere I've lived for 35 years, which isn't that many places, but I always initially, my first thing is to plant elderberry trees. And so I have several outside, and they're just so good for, well, they're good for syrup and jelly and tincture and pies, but they're antiviral. So, you got to have them around.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and they're the blossoms are equally important for colds. And I mean, the first time I ever had elderflower tea, I was with a friend, and we drank it because it's supposed to raise your temperature so that you break a fever. And that's we both stopped there sweating. It was like, oh, this interesting stuff.
Yeah.
And so that was fun. My daughter, when she was little, her thing was wild. I get confused. It's either wild, I guess it's wild onions. It's the things that grow in your lawn. And she would always be walking around with those.
We call that onion grass.
Yeah. And but I will cook with those. I'll dig those up sometimes if I don't have onions around the house, and cook with
They're
the
great.
onions. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of, it feels so good to be able to do that, to just go outside and find what you need. It's like, oh, I don't have any onions. Well, I know where there are. And same with greens, or the chickweed is good, and I like it mixed in with other things. I'm not really, to me, it tastes kind of dirty, kind of tastes like dirt. But I like burdock root. And
me too.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things out there. I'm trying to think. There's not much that I don't try. I love all the wild berries, and that, and I had one kid, and she was such a little wild thing, and she would leave the house, and I would follow her clothes. The trail of clothing, and then I'd find her on the mulberry tree, all just smeared up with. And the dogs would be with her and stuff. She'd like throw berries to the dogs, and so there's a lot of it is emotional or nostalgic for me. So and
definitely.
Wild foods were also something my grandfather, we'd go for walks and he'd find wild strawberries, which is not very common anymore, but when I was a kid they were pretty much everywhere. But he'd be feeding me stuff and show me sassafras leaves and all that jazz, and so it's all very nostalgic, I guess, is what I'm thinking. So I think we should, but I really feel like we all need to learn that. And since we had the COVID this last year, I have an old PDF of Wild Foods Cookbook that's on the website, and I just put it up for free. I don't,
awesome.
If you want to download it, it's there for free. It's lots of great recipes that make it seem like wild foods is just something that you'd naturally have, which you should, in your kitchen.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so that's on your website under a specific tab, or where would they find it?
At the very bottom of the homepage. It's Wild Foods for Every Table. There's just a link down
Okay.
at the very bottom of the page. Or if you happen to be in the books section,
Okay.
it's there, but you don't have to pay for it. You just click on it and
Oh,
download it.
that's wonderful. I'll have to check that out myself, but I totally
Yeah,
agree.
good.
I felt like last year I really got this impression to like share the people's medicine, plants and herbs with people. And I thought so many were so afraid and so unsure of what to do. And the earth just has so much to give. I was excited to like learn more plants last year. I already know a lot, but I started like, I really want to know like what is in my environment. And I like really got hooked on foraging last year myself. So I love your stories, and I definitely would like some nettle, and we just planted
Okay.
elderberry. But
Okay.
let's tie in as the last section of this interview, because you mentioned something about the emotional or the stories, the emotional aspect. And I know you wrote a book about in that vein. What is that book called again? I was gonna pick that up.
Oh man. It's
What do you have here? Medicinal herbs for emotional
Herbal
healing.
medicine for emotional healing. Yeah.
Okay, that's great.
And that's kind of a little bit different. It's like for emotional issues, like kind of depression or just being overly tired. Or it came out at a really good time because it came out last March. And
Did it?
yeah, I didn't know what was coming, but so it was. But I don't really. I'm different than a lot of herb people in that I really feel like we can do so much with herbs, and then we need to kind of hand it over to really well-trained people.
Mhm.
And not everybody agrees with me, and that's just fine. But so in this, it was we can do a whole lot. We can make ourselves feel better. We can get over minor depression and minor anxiety and stuff like that. But if you're not feeling better after a while, you have to go talk to somebody. But so there's so many herbs that we can. My favorite one would be. I don't think there should be a house in the world that doesn't have holy basil
Which
because
what?
it's Tulsi or holy basil.
Oh, basil. Okay.
It's so good. It's just
Mhm.
it's good for a million physical things. And then the story that I tell is that one of my older siblings lived with me for a few years when he was terminally ill. And it wasn't necessarily my choice, but here he was, and it was so depressing. It was just so hard. And I couldn't get anything done. And I would be trying to write and not even be aware of the fact that tears were just rolling down my face. So at the time we had a Yahoo group for herbs, and we were talking about something else entirely. And somebody mentioned holy basil, and I had it. I grow stuff sometimes that I don't know anything about, just to grow. And so I started looking into it, and it was like, oh, this is really good for emotional issues. And as soon as I tried it, it was like, so.
Oh, wow.
It was like I felt like all that horrible stuff just moved over here, and I could deal with it, instead of just like being drowning in it. It was moved over here, and I could let it go. I could probably do this. So
good.
I haven't been without it. I love that stuff.
So. That is another herb that I do not have at the moment. And I have a friend at down in my town, and she was going to give me some. She says that in India, everyone has holy basil or Tulsi in their home. And I said, well, we usually share plants. Like we'll swap I'll give her things she
Mhm.
doesn't have and she gives me some. So we have to get together and swap so I can get some. Because I do like
Yeah,
getting
it's really
a
worthwhile.
when I can. So, well, thank you, Tina. I really
Hey, thanks
appreciate
for helping.
everything you shared about the herbs, and you have so much resource available, free resources, your website, you have your magazine, you have books. So I really hope that people watching this video will take advantage and go to the description, click on links, and check out more of what Tina has been putting out here in the herb world, and what she has written. So any last
Get
part?
that food book. Get the wild foods book
Which
for
one?
sure. The wild foods book.
Is that
The
your
free
book?
download.
Oh, the free
It's
one. The
sort of
free
like the
one.
way the magazine is.
Yeah, that
Yes.
one
Yeah.
sounds really exciting. So would you just leave us with maybe your top favorite herb, and then I'm gonna stop the video, but
Okay. Holy basil and elderberry, and then chamomile really is it's just so nice, and it does a lot of just smoothing things out. I really like it.
So I'm assuming you have that in your garden.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
I
Well,
seem to
great.
have a lot of compliments.
Well, I guess you never get tired of plants when you're an herb person. You always have them around. So thank you, Tina. And
Hey, thanks for having me.
oh, you're welcome. And I'll be in touch, and say goodbye for now.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.